Your reserve study just came back and the board is in a panic because the funding percentage isn't at 100%. Before anyone proposes a special assessment or a dramatic dues increase, stop. Because chasing 100% funded is one of the most common and most expensive misunderstandings in community association management. Reserve studies are one of the most misread documents in the life of any HOA, condominium association, housing community, apartment property. Boards either ignore them entirely, which is a serious problem, or they treat every number in them as an emergency requiring immediate action, which can be just as damaging to a community's financial health and resident trust. Today we're breaking down what a reserve study actually tells you, what the funding percentages really mean, and most importantly, what number your board should actually be managing toward. Because the answer is not 100%. Here's something most boards aren't told up front. A reserve study is a projection model built on assumptions. Useful, important assumptions, but assumptions nonetheless. It estimates the remaining useful life of major components, projects future replacement costs, and calculates what you'd theoretically need in reserves if everything happened exactly on schedule. The thing is, nothing ever happens exactly on schedule. Roofs last longer than projected. Roads get repaved in phases. HVAC systems get repaired rather than replaced. The 100% threshold treats every future expense as a certainty, arriving on a precise date, and that's simply not how capital assets behave in the real world. Boards that chase 100% often end up over-collecting from residents for expenses that won't materialize as projected, creating unnecessary financial strain in the community today to prepare for a future that won't look the way the model assumed. Industry guidance consistently identifies 70% funded as the threshold that separates a financially healthy community from one carrying meaningful risk. A community in the 70% or above range has adequate financial cushion for the realistic range of capital needs, including timing shifts, cost overruns, and components that need attention sooner than projected. But here's where it gets nuanced. Not all communities at 70% are in the same position. The funding percentage alone doesn't tell you whether your community is trending up or trending down, how your component mix affects actual near-term risk, or whether your current assessment structure will sustain that level without a future correction. Knowing you're at 72% funded is a starting point. Understanding what that number actually means for your specific community and your specific component inventory is a completely different conversation. And that's the one most boards never have. Special assessments don't come out of nowhere. They are almost always the predictable result of a funding strategy that was either never properly established or quietly allowed to erode over time. Residents experience them as a surprise. Boards experience them as a crisis. But in nearly every case, the warning signs were sitting in the reserve study. They just weren't being read correctly. There's a concept called baseline funding, a minimum funding approach designed to keep reserves from ever hitting zero on any major component. And it's the foundation of a strategy that protects communities from the special assessment trap. But implementing it correctly requires more than running a calculation. It requires integrating your reserve position with your operating budget, your dues structure, and the actual condition of your assets, not just the ages on a spreadsheet. Most boards don't have visibility into all those moving parts simultaneously, and that gap is exactly where special assessments are born. Reserve funding strategy isn't a one-time number to hit. It's an ongoing financial discipline that touches everything from your dues structure to your legal exposure to the long-term property values in your community. If your board isn't entirely sure what your reserve study is actually telling you, or if you're wondering whether your current funding trajectory is going to hold, that's exactly the kind of assessment we're here to help communities work through. There's far more beneath the surface of these documents than most boards realize, and the stakes of misreading them are very real. At ManageMax, we know that effective community management is built on transparency and systematic excellence. We provide full-service HOA and condominium management across Southeast Michigan, handling everything from accurate financial reporting to proactive maintenance. Our goal is to reduce the burden on your board while protecting your property values. If you're looking for a partner who values accountability as much as you do, visit us at managemaxproperties.com. Let's build a stronger community together.